Hello. How is everybody? The great thing about having an intro, besides the fact that it's a great intro and it's about time, is that it allows me time to get up, poddle around, make a coffee, pick up all the things that I forgot to bring in as per usual. So it's good to see everybody. I am very, very pleased to see everyone here today. And I did want to send out a message, first of all. I cannot even begin to express my gratitude and our gratitude, both of us, to all the people who have been so incredibly helpful to us in the past couple of weeks. We have received a lot of support mostly in the form of helping behind the scenes, information, all kinds of stuff. I'm not going to go into great detail because I don't need to. There's a lot of stuff that we've kept quiet because we're not going to risk anything. I am not bound by a restraining order, okay? I can talk as much as I want, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to say a peep because that would be extremely foolish. However, the outpouring of research and other things behind the scenes, for both of our cases, incidentally, has been overwhelming. Yesterday, I had to take a mental health day because slogging through that sewer, that landfill of information, was very difficult. But every now and then, you've got to take a step back. You've got to think about yourself. You've got to regroup. And that's what I did yesterday. So I didn't stream and I didn't have anything to talk about. So today I am refreshed. We have a brand new coffee maker. Our coffee maker committed suicide the other day, which was a major crisis. And now we have a coffee maker that is functional. So I've got fresh, hot, strong coffee and I am ready to go. And again, I want to say thank you to everyone. The people who are now seeing what's going on, the people who have become fully aware of everything. I do not discuss open court cases, and I do not discuss ongoing police investigations either. That's just smart. That's the smart way to do it. You wait until the proper moment and the proper venue, because absolutely nothing can be resolved online. Nothing. You can't litigate a case online. You have to do it in court. So that's what we're planning on doing. And we have a new coffee maker, which always makes life a little bit better. All right. Now, I just wanted to start off with a couple of points. I wasn't really going to play a video until I found one. I was sitting around this morning trying to get in touch with someone. And while I was trying to find contact information for that person, I was watching a video by, I believe, Spillsesh, who did this long video about the Ace family, the rise and fall. And something very interesting. She revealed something very interesting that I did not know, so I thought I would pass it on. Austin McBroom had a lot of problems. I mean, he and his ex-wife are both grifters. They've both stolen from their audience. They've both deceived their audience, their very young audience, sold their kids on gambling apps. And, it's just been awful. Those ridiculous TikTok versus YouTube fights where nobody got paid. And the man has been sued about 1,000 times. But one of the things that I did not know, and of course, all of this is alleged because I have no way of verifying it. But if anybody is interested in taking a look at Keemstar, apparently at one point, Austin McBroom was accused of sexually assaulting someone. And the story is, at least according to, is it Spillsesh? I just want to make sure I'm not getting that wrong. I'll drop the video in chat because it's a good one. She's very, very comprehensive. And she did a great job with this video going over what a nightmare. It's Spill. The self-imposed downfall of Ace Family. 18 million fans gone in record time. Okay, I will pull this up and I will drop it. Like I said, it's a very, very long video. But apparently, when Austin McBroom was accused by this woman, and I think that there was more than one, Drama Alert got a hold of the story, and Austin McBroom had to pay Keemstar upwards of $500,000 to keep it under his hat. So I see that if this is in fact true, and obviously this is alleged, I have absolutely no way of knowing if it's true. But if that's true, I guess that he's picked up a business model from the National Enquirer, which uses their mountains of blackmail in the vault to either bribe or blackmail celebrities into appearing on the magazine covers of other publications that are part of the umbrella group that owns the National Enquirer, stuff like that. Nice little business model Keemstar has gotten figured out, a nice little shakedown he's got going, if it is true. I keep on repeating that, if it is true. So I also, because I was watching that, I fell down a Spencer Cornelia rabbit hole. I love him. I was telling Negs last night that sometimes when I go on YouTube and I'm trying to find something interesting to watch, and there isn't anything, because I have no respect for 99.9% of YouTube creators, I tell them I've got CoffeeZilla, I've got Spencer Cornelia, and then there's everybody else, But Spencer Cornelia was reviewing the ongoing feud between ABBA and Preach and Fresh and Fit. And he showed this bell curve, and it was really good, and it's applicable to other communities as well. You start a channel, you figure out some new arena, some new technique, some way to cover a topic, and you launch it. You swim in the blue ocean for a while because you're the only person on the platform who's doing something in a particular way. And in Fresh and Fit's defense, doing a show where you have multiple guests on at once, miking all of them, first of all, finding those women, bringing them into the studio, miking all of them up, doing a multi-camera shoot, and then editing it with cutaways and all that requires a certain amount of skill. Not that they have it. But it did require effort. It's not just, you recruit some chicks from Miami Beach and bring them in and hope for the best. No, you have to balance out the audio. You have to mix it. You have to do all of that. Their show was still garbage, but in terms of production values, it was better than most. Let's put it that way. Then what happens is that other people see what you're doing. They see that you're raking in the money, so they start copying you. They jump in and they decide, I'm going to do a panel with a bunch of bimbos that I, rake over the coals and insult and appeal to these neck-bearded incels and teach them how to get women and sell them on a bunch of seminars and books and other horseshit that will help them not at all. And then what happens? You reach a point where there's so much competition that then infighting starts among the creators. They start, squabbling with one another. And then the whole model collapses under its own weight because in order to maintain viewership, you have to keep on getting more and more extreme, and you've got to pick fights with more and more people. And then, the views drop off because the views are being distributed across the platform. And then people get demonetized and they get kicked off the platform. This is a formula that applies across the board. We can see it happening in Girl World. It's not just the red pill manosphere grifters. It's happening across the board. So it's a good formula to follow. That's why developing a channel or launching a channel and focusing on 1, 2, or 3 people is a huge mistake. Keep it varied. I've decided that tomorrow I am going to break my moratorium on Becky, not Beck, Becky. And I'm going to review one of her videos because tomorrow is the last day of the month and I want to make some money. So I figure that putting Becky on the channel and roasting her will probably get some views. I'm not ashamed of that. Yeah, the Becky. Yeah, her. Not they, them, her. Anyway, so I'll be talking about Becky tomorrow. And I have one last thing before I get on to a video that I found today that I thought was informative. So, some of you may have seen the, hi, my love. Okay. So Negs will be streaming at 7:30. Okay. Some of you may have seen the horrifying footage of the release of the hostages. There have been Israeli hostages released and Thai hostages also that Hamas is claiming they kidnapped by mistake, but held them by mistake, I guess, for what, a year and a half. All right. We've seen these women and an 80-year-old man surrounded by jihadi murderers and all of those innocent civilians, all of whom happen to be men. I don't know where the women of Gaza have gone, but they all happen to be male, and they're all screeching, and they're all surrounding these girls and the old man, caterwauling. And there have been a number of questions asked about where is Me Too? Well, Me Too left the building a long time ago. I don't know if you guys got the memo. But yeah, Me Too is no longer a thing. Beth, could you do me a favor and drop Negs' channel in chat? That would be very, very cool. Thank you. And one of the messages that I have for Queers for Palestine and Zachary Michael and Mika's Rhetoric and the rest of the losers who support these jihadi murderers and rapists is that one of the hostages that was released, not this time around, but the last time around, is a lesbian. Her girlfriend in Israel was lobbying tirelessly for her release, and she was counseled not to reveal the fact that they were in a relationship. And just call her my best friend. And so this lesbian, part of a couple, had to keep shtum about her girlfriend being held in captivity because if Hamas had gotten word that they had a hostage who was a lesbian, God only knows what would have happened to her. I mean, the conditions she was being held under were nightmarish enough, but imagine what they would have done to her if they had found out that she was gay also. Well, now the couple is reunited. Thank God, at last. They don't have to live in secret anymore. But I just wanted to let you know, Zachary Michael, that is what you support. That's who you went on your channel supporting. That's who you were raising money for. A bunch of murderous, fanatical, raping, murdering, kidnapping terrorists who don't exactly have a very, very open-minded view of homosexuality. But you do you, boo-boo. You know best, right? You and your little friends, your little allies. So I found this extraordinary, and they are a beautiful couple, by the way, this couple. So thanks, Zach. You are really a testament. You are the pride of the gay community. Lobbying in favor of a bunch of savages who do not hold gay people in high regard. But again, you know best. You know best. You know all about human rights and gay rights, since being gay is like your only identity, apparently. What better people to defend and stand in favor of than a bunch of gay, throwing off roofs, raping, murdering terrorists and kidnappers. You really know how to pick them, Zach. Good for you. Now, as you all know, as you all know, Donald Trump has been signing a flurry of executive orders. Yes, I saw this. An Iraqi refugee was shot in cold blood in Sweden. Now, Sweden has been ravaged with bombings, dozens and dozens and dozens of bombings, and they're doing absolutely nothing about it. Okay. And now this Iraqi refugee was shot down like a dog in the street, much like Theo van Gogh was murdered in Holland, with a note pinned to his chest saying that Ayaan Hirsi Ali would be next. I don't know what the Swedes are going to do about it, but it's their problem. And it guarantees that I will never set foot in Sweden ever in my entire life. If you people cannot get a hold of your fucking country and guarantee the safety of residents, of refugees, then you are the problem. And that means that it is not safe. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, me too. I saw it on Twitter today and I was appalled, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised given the way that Sweden has bent the knee for years now. This is exactly what you reap what you sow. I don't know if you guys remember the Swedish crime drama, The Bridge. Brunn, I think was the name of the Swedish program. But it featured a pair of actors, and one of them was Danish, and he happened to be Jewish. And he said that he was too afraid to cross the bridge and film in Malmö, because Malmö has turned into a fucking hellhole of Islamism, and he was too afraid as a Jewish man to set foot in Malmö, which is the city that you end up in when you cross the bridge going from Denmark into Sweden. So this has been going on for years. This is not news. But the fact that the Swedish authorities have chosen to favor violent extremist jihadis over their own people and over harmless refugees and immigrants who want to integrate and want to become part of Swedish society, again, that's a you problem. All right. Simcha Rosh Chodesh to you too, Marcianes. Now, Trump has signed a whole series of executive orders having to do with this transgender insanity, banning the mutilation and drugging of children under the age of 19. I guess he couldn't wait for the Supreme Court case to be decided. Moving male prisoners out of female prisons, and a whole host of other issues regarding transgenderism. I will repeat that I think that it is pathetic that you need a president of the fucking United States to sign a piece of paper declaring that a woman is an adult human female. I think I'm wearing my adult human female t-shirt now. Yes, I am, but I'm not going to take this off because it is cozy. All right, so I found an amazing video that made me see fucking red. It made me so angry that I thought, why should I be angry by myself? Let's distribute the anger among a larger audience. Nate the lawyer did a fantastic video. Hang on, let me. All right. I'm going to bring this Nate the lawyer video up. It's not that long. I was just going to do a chit chat stream today, but then I found this video and I thought, excellent. This is something to share with the audience. So let me bring this up. Let's watch this together and we can share our thoughts on this matter. Let's go.
This man you're looking at on screen was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. So when authorities asked, what do you identify as? He says, whatever puts me in a woman's prison, because he's got to spend the rest of his life there. So they take his word for it, put him in a woman's prison, and now all of his cellmates wind up pregnant.
Okay, and that's why I have a message. I have a message for Hecate's daughter and all the other idiots who decided to dogpile me and call me a transphobe, which goes in one ear and out the other. There will never be a day, a time, or a place. I don't care if you waterboard me. I don't care if you put me on the rack, on the wheel, if you put me in Guantanamo. I don't care what the fuck you do to me. There will never be a time, a day, or a place where I look at a man and bend the knee and say that that's a woman. It will never fucking happen. If that makes me a transphobe, if that makes me a problem, I will live as a problem because I inhabit something called reality. I inhabit reality, and I make no fucking apologies for it. Let's continue.
His response is, he's not a man, he's a lesbian. Let's talk about it. Welcome to the channel. My name is Nate the Lawyer, where we look at the craziest stories here on the internet. And boy, do I got a crazy story for you today. This is Tremaine Carroll. Now, he's a central figure in this case. He is a biological male who began identifying as a woman in 2021.
Of course.
That date is pretty important. See, in January 2021, California allowed inmates to be placed in a facility corresponding with the sex that they identify with.
Yep.
So California passed Senate Bill 132, which allows incarcerated, transgender, non-binary, and intersex men to be transferred into women's prisons. You know, we've been having this ongoing national discussion about protections of women with the transgender advocacy. And I think one of the big places that I guess maybe many in the nation forgot to look at was our prisons. And then we hear about the Senate bill, which has been signed into law.
So what that wonderful California law did was say, hey, we're going to ask the person, what do you identify as? And if they say we identify as a woman, no questions asked, we're sending you to a woman's prison. So now that brings us back to Tremaine Carroll. See,
look at this dainty lady. Look at this dainty lady on the screen. Wait until you hear why he's in prison for life. You guys are going to love this.
He was serving a 25 to life sentence under California's 3 strikes law. See, in 1990, Carroll pleaded guilty to 2 counts of kidnapping for ransom. And then
Nate skipped over part of it. And 3 counts of oral copulation in concert by force. So he's not only a violent armed robber, kidnapper, he's also a rapist. You see, when people come to me and they tell me that I'm exaggerating, that I'm crazy, and I'm not alone in this. Anybody who has spoken out against it has been told this never happens. That became so popular that it became a hashtag. It never happens. It happens too infrequently to be important. Or you're a fucking transphobe. That's always the final argument, which is not an argument. It's an ad hominem attack that means nothing when you've got the facts in front of you. Some of us have been speaking out on the matter of men being put in women's prisons for years. And when I finish with this video, I'm going to read you something about what happens when you put men, what happens to women who complain about their safety in these prisons with these violent rapists, armed robbers, pedophiles, and generally sick, violent felons. Let's go.
7 years later, he pleaded guilty for being the getaway driver in a robbery. Now, along with his previous felonies, this made him eligible for a life sentence, and he was given a life sentence.
Good.
Now, fast forward to 2021, and California has just passed this new law that essentially says, we're going to take your word for it. If you say you identify as a woman, we're going to put you in a woman's prison. So guess what Carroll said? I identify as a woman,
of course.
And please put me in a woman's prison so I can serve out the rest of my term.
Again, hashtag this never happens. How many years of gaslighting have we gone through with people saying that this never happens, that all of these inmates who go in claiming to be transgender really are transgender? And then it was to add insult to injury, we were told we had to call them women and refer to them as she. Not in my fucking lifetime. Let's go.
Which was a life sentence.
Carroll was allowed to serve time in a women's prison despite being a biological male because of Senate Bill 132, the Transgender Respect Agency and Dignity Act, which took effect in 2021. It allows inmates to be housed with the gender they identify as. The CDCR website points out state law prohibits discrimination based on gender identity.
Okay, and I have something to add to that, because one of the arguments that I've seen is, yeah, but if you put these transgender individuals, whether they've gone through surgery or not, whether they're intact, violent men or they've gone through surgery, if you put them in a men's prison, they're going to be at risk. Guess who else is at risk in a men's prison? Small men, young men, gay men, femme-presenting men, old men. There are lots of categories of men. Police officers, pedophiles. There are many, many different types of men who are at risk in a male prison. Why then does that mean that women have to be used as cannon fodder in order to protect men like this violent felon from his fellow men in a men's prison? Absolutely fucking not. No. No means no. Let's continue. Absolutely not. And listen, there have been a lot of downsides to this Trump thing, okay? And I'm still not a fan. I don't like the fact that he nominated losers like Matt Gaetz and Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. to top cabinet positions. Thank God not only did Matt Gaetz drop out, but now he's out of Congress. Good riddance to bad rubbish. But, I mean, he said he was going to do it. You know, it's his choice, obviously. But some of these executive orders, not the stupid ones, but the other ones regarding this particular topic, it's about goddamn time. All right, let's go.
There's no psychological evaluation that needs to be done. This person doesn't need to be on cross-gender hormones.
Nothing.
They don't need to be signed up for transgender surgery.
Nothing.
They don't even need a significant psychological evaluation regarding gender confusion. The mere statement is enough.
Yep.
You heard that right. The mere statement is enough. So when the state of California started asking grown men, would you rather be in a prison with all men or would you rather be in a prison with all women? Most of them started saying they were women, they identified as women, and they would like to be placed in women's prison. Here's one guy who was convicted of murdering 3 people. Guess what he identified as?
When Dana Rivers, born David Warfield, brutally murdered a married lesbian couple and their adopted son in their Oakland, California home. Prosecutors say Rivers shot all 3 victims as they slept, stabbing one of the women more than 40 times. Last year, 7 years after the murders, Rivers was found guilty and last month sentenced to more than 150 years in prison. Her choice, the Central California Women's Facility,
His choice.
a prison
His choice.
housing more than 2,300 women and sparking outrage among some activists.
Dana Rivers is a man, and it is the position of Women's Declaration International globally that it's inappropriate to house male prisoners with female prisoners.
This was California. They didn't care about any logic, reason, science.
Nothing.
If you tell them you're a woman, they're going to treat you like a woman. And
Right.
for all intensive purposes, you are a woman. Now, because of this law, Carol decided, hey, I'm going to live my true life as a lesbian woman. So Carol told both the court and the state that he identifies as a woman. The authorities in the state of California followed state law and put Carol in a women's prison.
Yep.
Now, here is a former inmate in the women's prison telling you about the living conditions in the prison.
Well, I spent 5 years inside that prison, so I'm pretty well informed as far as how it works. This is a place that has 8-person cells, so there's 4 bunks, and everybody has to cohabitate like that. There is no privacy. There's no downtime. You're not alone. 8 people sharing the living space, which is about 6 feet, sharing a toilet, a shower, and 2 sinks.
So they
8 people sharing what? 6 by 6 space? 8 people. Women and a man. A violent rapist. And again, how many of us said there are violent rapists being locked up with women behind bars? Hashtag that never happens. Well, evidently it does. Let's go.
They took this biological man, put him in a cell with 7 women, and what do you think happened? Well, there were a lot of pregnancies.
After his first cellmate became pregnant and was moved to Los Angeles, 2 other cellmates of his complained that he had raped them. So we have filed rape charges against this inmate.
So now Carol is on his 4th strike because he's being charged with all of these other crimes concerning his fellow inmates. Now, Carol was facing another life sentence for the assault of his fellow inmates. But he had one request of this court. He told the judge that he wanted to only be referred to as she or her. That's because state law demanded it. And follow the
over my dead fucking body. You see, I have gotten a lot more strident as time has passed. I have seen too many of these cases, both here and in the United Kingdom. Now, in the United Kingdom, where thank God I do not live, or Canada, no offense, Anna, you can make these statements and not have the police knock at your door. You cannot be put in jail for making a statement saying that a man cannot become a woman and vice versa. And I can look at this man and say, that is a fucking man. That is a violent predator who does not belong behind bars with women. So thank God for our First Amendment. Let's go.
motion with the court to demand that the prosecutor and all the witnesses refer to Carol as she,
No,
her.
never.
Even though he is a biological male.
Never.
Here's how the judge ruled.
A controversial court ruling tonight. A convicted criminal who served time at the women's prison in Chowchilla is charged with raping fellow inmates. A Madera County judge says Tremaine Carroll must be referred to with she, her pronouns.
A disgrace.
But the district attorney is pushing back because the 52-year-old Carroll is a biological male, and the decision could impact the pursuit of justice.
A Madera County judge ruled this week 52-year-old state prisoner Tremaine Carroll must be referred to with she, her pronouns because Carroll identifies as a woman. But the district attorney believes the defendant is abusing the system.
Of course.
This is a person who's not a woman in any sense of the word.
Moreno says the ruling regarding pronouns impacts her ability to prosecute the case.
This is a particular issue in this case because it's confusing to the jury.
It's just absolutely insane that a victim would have to get on the stand and police their pronouns and their usage when trying to recite one of the most scariest times in their lives.
Now, if you're like me, you think, hey, that's insane old California. You know how progressive and liberal they are. Let them have their madness. But this is actually not just limited to California.
No, it isn't.
This is what happened in the state of New Jersey.
2 female inmates at a supposedly all-women's prison in New Jersey have just become pregnant. You wonder how that happened.
God, remember when Tucker was sane? Remember how Tucker was sane before he jumped on that Candace Owens bandwagon and turned into a lunatic? God, it feels like it was ages ago.
Well, turns out those women had sexual encounters with another inmate who was a biological man passing as a woman. Now, some people predicted that this would happen, and they were laughed at, mocked, and attacked as bigots.
In 2021, New Jersey enforced a policy that allowed inmates to be housed based on the gender in which they were identified with. Now, it used to be a time when it was based on their genitalia.
Right.
And then they changed. So, ladies, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's tricky.
It's not tricky.
I'm here to tell you, I don't think this is tricky.
It's not tricky at all.
But think about this. 1/3 of the men requesting transfer to California's women's prisons are sex offenders.
I want you to look at that. 1/3 of the men requesting transfer into California's women's prisons are sex offenders. 1/3.
And at the federal level, 50% of the men in federal prisons who identify as women are also sex offenders.
In federal prison, 50% of men in federal prison who identify as women are sex offenders. It goes on to say this is likely understating the problem. And the women who have been fighting back, including the female inmates who have fought back. And again, at the end of this video, I'm going to read you the account of one female inmate who complained and what happened to her. The women who have been fighting back, the women who have been calling out this madness for years, are the ones who end up getting it in the neck. The ones who end up getting dogpiled, the ones whose jobs are called, the ones whose families are threatened, the ones who end up in trouble for stating an obvious fucking fact. Let's go.
And those numbers are from the California Department of Corrections and this FOIA request from the federal government. Now we have to just keep it 100% real here, right? This is utterly ridiculous. Placing men who happen to be sex offenders in women's prisons, that just makes absolutely no sense. What did they think was going to happen? Anyone could have predicted this if you just had half a brain. And this, I think, is the problem, is that we've gone too far one way to where it's now becoming ridiculous. Essentially having men compete with women in women's sports, now just placing male sex offenders in women's prisons. This is utterly madness. And I feel like I'm living in a world where I just don't understand why rational, sane people would do things like this.
Oh, Nate. Oh, Nate. Some of us have been calling this out for years, and the gaslighting is enough to make you want to pull your own hair out, whatever's left on your head. Sanity left the building a long time ago. And unfortunately, it took executive orders to right the ship. And the fact that this was allowed to continue and flourish in multiple states is an absolute disgrace and an embarrassment. From men competing against girls in female sports to a man rushing a sorority in fucking Wyoming, only for the sorority sisters that complained to be told to sit down and shut up. The guy was like being weird and pervy in the sorority, and some of the sisters complained and they were told to go fuck themselves. This has gone across the board, where the needs and desires of these men have overshadowed the safety of women. This is way beyond a bathroom thing. This is not just about Nancy Mace. This is not just about one transgender member of Congress. This is so far-reaching that it required executive orders to fix it. Let's go.
Just tell the prison that you're a woman and they'll treat you as a woman. That's insane stuff. But that's what's happening in California. Now, if you happen to disagree with my assessment of this particular issue and my views on the entire trans issue in general, please let me know in the comment section. Tell me where I'm mistaken in the comment section. Because just like biological men competing with biological women in elite sports is ridiculous and nonsense, I think this too is ridiculous.
Okay, so I'm glad that he brought up sports and Leah Thomas and all that, because, you know, in the Olympics, the reason that Leah Thomas was disqualified from the female swim team and biological men were allowed to compete in boxing is because evidently each sport has a different standard. There is no uniformity at the Olympics. But a guy who has thrown his hat into the ring, who wants to run the International Olympic Committee, has done so, saying that this is going to stop. This is his platform that he's running on, that there is going to be uniformity across the board, and he's going to shut out men who want to compete in the female category, except bizarrely, and I don't understand the logic or rationale, in women's soccer. I don't know why women's soccer gets a pass. Men should be shut out from competing against women in any sport that requires strength or speed, and soccer requires both. So I don't get it. Whatever. At least it's a step forward. Now, I'm going to read you a tweet that I saw the other day that I thought was very interesting and depressing. All right, let me bring it up. All right, I know it's small, so I'll read it to you. While this is undeniably a moment of celebration for the women in the U.S. federal prison system, I want to take a moment to remember all the who are still being abused by trans pretending male inmates. I'd especially like to remember Kathleen Quinn, who had her parole revoked for filing a complaint against a trans-pretending male inmate, gang member, and suspected serial killer, Michael Oso Contreras, aka Ava Reeves. Contreras repeatedly lingered outside the bathroom while Quinn was using it, staring at her through the frosted glass door and refusing to leave when Quinn told him to. The frosting on the glass did not prevent her from identifying him. Contreras has been described by members of the LA Sheriff's Department elite OSS gang task force as certifiable with a volatile temper and twisted bloodlust, and as a very dangerous person in spite of his apparent gender confusion. He is believed to have murdered at least 13 people, and members of the OSS task force have stated he was sexually violent against other male inmates before his transfer to a women's prison and his placement in an 8-person cell with 7 women. One retired LASD sergeant stated publicly and in writing that this transfer was carried out because California's protective custody facilities are overcrowded and difficult to staff and maintain. The sergeant, it should be noted, is appalled by Contreras' placement in a women's prison. A few months after Kathleen Quinn filed her complaint against Contreras, she was found suitable for parole and began a 150-day review period in which she had to remain free of disciplinary write-ups before being officially granted her freedom. She was almost at the end of this period, with her release only 3 weeks away, when she was written up on months-old charges for making, quote, false reports of criminal conduct, unquote, and harassment of Contreras based on his, quote-unquote, transgender status. Even though the write-up had yet to be adjudicated, the state of California revoked Quinn's parole. And why? Because she didn't want a male serial killer to stare at her while she used the restroom. In a final piece of spite, after Kathleen's parole was revoked, she was found not guilty of the allegations in the write-up, but California says that her opportunity for parole has come and gone. She will now be forced to serve another 5 years behind bars, even though the state has admitted that she violated no rules or regulations during the critical period in question. A transcript of Quinn's interview with the parole board commissioner reveals that he told her that he was disappointed in her for filing the complaint, adding that, once you get found suitable for parole, man, you better be perfect. I would not be out there, trying to change the law. Kathleen Quinn is still in prison today. There is no doubt that if she hadn't filed her grievance, she would now be a free woman. This is only one example of the ways in which the state of California has browbeaten and bullied, victimized, incarcerated women into silence. One Kathleen Quinn is worth 1,000 prison DEI compliance sessions to state officials. Amen. For her bravery and her concern for other women, Kathleen Quinn will serve 5 more years behind bars at the mercy of the same officials who punished her so severely for wanting to feel safe in the bathroom. Her case serves as a clear warning to California's female inmates that they'd better shut up and start sucking girl dick if they ever want to see their families again. For their part, the state of California has recently begun requiring all strip searches in women's prisons to be filmed, not to protect the inmates, but to protect the female guards who were being harassed by the male inmates they are now required to strip search. In a truly disgusting twist, male guards in California prisons have been caught watching these videos for their own gratification. Remember Kathleen Quinn, this isn't over. I told you guys that there were cases in California where female inmates were threatened with revocation of a parole application, or where the prison the head of the prison would come out, the warden would come out against somebody's parole, a woman's parole, because she had complained about being attacked, raped, sexually harassed, or otherwise by a male inmate. I told you about that. Or women being, put in solitary because they complained and they wanted to do something about their safety while behind bars. See, nobody gives a shit about female prisoners, right? They're trash. Who would give a damn about whether or not women behind bars are safe or not, right? The problem is that a lot of female inmates are in prison for nonviolent reasons, or because they defended themselves against a violent spouse or a violent boyfriend, or for other reasons. They're not rapists. Most of them are not violent armed felons, or most of them are not pedophiles. Most of them are not in for sexual assault or anything like that. But a substantial number of the male inmates who were locked up behind bars and put in those tiny cells with multiple women are sexual predators or violent felons. This matters. This matters, and it's mattered for years. So again, call me whatever you want. Call me whatever kind of phobeist, bigot, drag me from pillar to post. Reality is reality. Reality is reality. Now you guys know why I was so angry this morning when I was watching Nate's video. It didn't come as news to me. I mean, I was aware of these cases. And those are just a couple of cases. He mentioned 3 cases: Dana Rivers, that guy, and the case in New Jersey. I had read about all those cases already. But there are more than that. Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's right. Right. And they're being put in a cell with a rapist. Again, hashtag this never happens. Yes, it does. And speaking of on a totally different topic, so Karsten tells me that the GLAAD Awards are going to be held soon, and that Emilia Perez did not receive any accolades. You know, I've gotten a little bit burned out on watching Wicked reactions, the vocal coaches and everybody, although I'm still very partial to watching videos of heterosexual men bursting into tears at the end of the movie and getting all emotional and teared up and choky during Defying Gravity. I still have a soft spot for that. I love it. I love each and every one of those videos is a joy to watch. I love it. But my other guilty pleasure has been watching all the videos that have been made roasting Emilia Perez and talking about what a terrible movie it is, and how when it debuted in Mexico, apparently so many people asked for refunds that the government had to come out in order to figure out a way. Hang on, I'm going to play you. Thank you for the reminder, Karsten. My favorite clip. All right. This is also a great joy. Hang on. I love this. This is my favorite video of straight men. Yeah, I saw that absurdity. I saw that the lead actress, and I still don't understand why the transgender individual was nominated for Best Actress over Zoe Saldana, who it really is her movie, Zoe Saldana's movie. She carries the movie. She is the thread that runs through the movie. So I don't understand why Zoe Saldana was repeatedly nominated for Best Supporting and the other one for Best Actress. It's crazy. But let me pull this up because I swear to God, every single time I watch this video, I am happy. All right. All right. So let's check this out because this is adorable. All right. All right, there we go. These are my two favorite straight men arguing. They're not arguing about Wicked. They're arguing about The Wizard of Oz, I guess. Or Wicked, one of the two. It doesn't fucking matter. Let's listen. Why can't I hear it?
Her sister was a witch! Hold on! Hold on! Her sister was a witch! Right? And what was her sister? A princess! A witch was in the East, bro! You're gonna look at me and you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong? Am I wrong? She wore a crown and she came down in a bubble. Grow up, bro!
Grow up, bro!
Guy fights like a baseball man!
I love it. I love it. I love it. Legends. Legends. One of the greatest viral clips of all time. Oh, a new favorite of mine might be people ripping into the Snow White movie. Well, the Snow White movie, you guys, is about to come out in March. And now that Brett Cooper has gotten shit canned from the Daily Wire, or she quit or whatever, and that's a whole other drama. I wonder if they're going to release their version of Snow White because she stars as Snow White in that movie. So I wonder if the Daily Wire's antidote, their Snow White is going to get shelved because of Brett Cooper's participation in it. So anyway, I can't wait to see it. I'm not going to see Snow White, by the way. There is no amount of money that could convince me to go to the theater and see Snow fucking White. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the roasting. I have rented on Prime. I've rented Nosferatu. So once I hop off here, I am going to be watching that because I'm looking forward to it. Oh, and Crochetter gave me some really bad news. He gave me some very, very bad news. All right. Some of you are going to have to, get ready for this. But we can all, get a buddy, and we can go through this together. Apparently, there is a remake of Labyrinth in the works. Two of the producers are involved with Jim Henson's company, which is to be expected. And then Chris Columbus, wholesome, right? The director is going to be the director who did Nosferatu. And if you've seen that director's work, you'll know that it's black and white, it's all very dark and all that. My question is, how the fuck are they going to replace David Bowie in that movie? And Crochetter and I were going through... Exactly. I love the chat's reaction. I felt my throat clench when Crochetter told me this terrible news. How are you going to make a follow-up or a remake of Labyrinth without David Bowie? So help me God, if they do a CGI Goblin King, I will hit the roof. How are they going to do it? And apparently they've reached out to Jennifer Connelly. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know who they're going to cast as a goblin or goblinette king in that movie. We were going through some scenarios. But with David Bowie dead, how dare you even contemplate doing a remake of Labyrinth? Leave it the fuck alone. Why? Why? Are we really so, lacking in topics and scripts that you now have to go into the vault and dig out these incredibly beloved properties and remake them or make these shitty sequels or whatever it is that you're going to do? And what a strange choice of a director. I mean, if you've seen that director's work, his style is incredible. He's a very stylized director, and it's very, very dark. So is he going to remake Labyrinth as a horror movie? Is that what he's going to do? Because if you've seen The Witch or some of his other movies, you'll know that his vision is beautiful. It's beautiful, but no, not for Labyrinth. Labyrinth holds a special place in all of our hearts, especially if you're of a certain age. And the thought of remaking Labyrinth without David Bowie it's just incomprehensible. Incomprehensible. Call it something else. Okay. Team up with Jim Henson's people, make a movie with Muppets, and do a completely different story, but don't fucking touch Labyrinth. What are you doing? Crochetter and I are so depressed by the state of the cinema industry at the current moment that we're now counting down the days until part 2 of Wicked comes out. And it's going to come out in November, at around the same time that Wicked debuted or premiered last year. And I was reminded of something because I was feeling very down. And I thought, God, if Wicked gets shut out of the Oscars this year, I am going to be so mad, because I don't think that Cynthia Erivo is going to win Best Actress. And the fact that they didn't even bother nominating John M. Chu when it was his vision that pulled that movie together. And then somebody in a comment section of some video pointed out that when Lord of the Rings came out in 3 parts, at the end, it swept the Oscars, right? It was, everybody won an award. So it may be that what's going to happen is that part 2 of Wicked will come out in November, and then next year, Wicked will sweep the way that Lord of the Rings did. At least that's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping. But I don't think that there has been a time in recent memory, all right, with the exception of maybe Crash, which is considered to be one of the most bizarre Best Picture wins in history, a really bad movie that got a ton of awards and everything. And people have questions about other movies, like the little movies like Coda that nobody watched. And, I guess it's called The Green Book, the one where Viggo Mortensen is a driver. And there have been some questionable wins. All right. But this year, if you go on Rotten Tomatoes and you look at the score for Emilia Perez, it's got like a 27% audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Audiences hate this movie. The gay groups hate this movie. The transgender groups hate this movie. The country of Mexico hates the movie. Fans of musicals hate the movie. Everyone hates this fucking movie. And yet, look, it rivals All About Eve in terms of Oscar nominations, and nobody can understand it. But hope springs eternal. Hope springs eternal that when Wicked Part 2 comes out this year, that next year will be the year that it gets recognized the way it should be. Oh, your friend saw what? Saw Emilia Perez? It's a terrible movie. It's a terrible movie. It doesn't make any sense. The songs are horrendous. Selena Gomez cannot speak Spanish. There is a complete lack of understanding of Mexico and Mexican culture. The portrayal of the transgender actor is horrendous and insulting and bizarre. This notion that if you're a man and you're a violent, sadistic drug lord who kills people and traffics drugs and all of that, all you have to do is get some plastic surgery, take some hormones, and it's washed away. All your sins are washed away like the blood of the lamb. You become a woman, and all of a sudden, you're a completely different person. That's not how it works. But that's the message that the movie conveys. Oh, I was a violent sociopath and a murderer because of all those male hormones. Now that I'm on estrogen and I've had plastic surgery, I'm a woman and I've gotten in touch with my kinder and gentler side, and everything that I did before then erased the slate. No, it doesn't work like that. But I mean, the people who were talking about how Selena Gomez can't speak Spanish, and this is no disrespect. Selena Gomez has admitted that she doesn't speak Spanish. I mean, she basically had to take a Berlitz course to be able to fumble her way through Spanish in this movie. And it's really distracting. Really, really distracting. But he wanted Selena Gomez in that role. And he cast her, and people reacted very poorly to it. Zoe Saldana speaks with a Dominican accent because she's from the Dominican Republic, although my understanding is that she tried to bone up to try to sort of sound Mexican. And the transgender actor is from Spain. So, anyway. Ridiculous. Well, not only does she not speak Spanish, Queen, but the director and the casting director insisted that there were no Mexican actors they could find to fill those roles. And of course, that was very insulting to Mexican actors who were like, what the fuck? You know, you mean to tell me that there was not a single actor or actress in the entire country of Mexico that was qualified to play a goddamn Mexican in a movie about Mexicans? You've got to be kidding. All right, you guys. So that's it for me today. I want to thank you guys for being here. Before I leave, please do consider becoming a member, and at the very least, do become a subscriber. Share the stream out. I appreciate all of you for being here, and tomorrow we are going to roast Becky Williams. Becky. And I will see you guys the next time. But thanks again, guys, and I will see you later.